Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka geekxxchic, and I'm back with another review to The Flash. I'm reviewing the 100th episode that aired, and it was good. I think it was actually a really good episode, solid. Again, not necessarily my favorite episode, but it was really solid, I feel like, in the storytelling, and I feel like the aim of this episode was to give us a bit of a walk down memory lane for how much the show has gone through and what our characters have accomplished, but also to move the story forward. And it's kind of hard, you know, to do a flashback or a bunch of flashbacks, but also have it move into the next steps of the show. And I think that the writers did a great job of balancing the two things. And it was edited in such a way that I never felt like we were dragging too long in one area or not getting enough of the other. So pacing wise, writing wise, I think it was really, really great. And everyone kind of got a chance to be a part of this episode, which is also a little bit difficult to do typically with a cast this big, but I feel like everybody got a chance to be in there and have a bit of a moment. There was obviously, like, Ralph, I feel like, was kind of definitely the least integral to all this, but that's kind of because he's so new to everything. But it was really, really well done. I have to say, it was one of the better episodes of this season so far, for sure. So let's get into some of the juicier parts of the episode. Okay, well, let's just start off with the fact that I think we all knew that as soon as Barry was going to go back, there's no way to go back in time, especially as far back as Barry was going, and have there be absolutely no issues. Like, it's just not possible, especially for what they needed to do. And it was very nerve-wracking for me the entire time, because I wasn't sure if Nora was going to fall in line or do what she was supposed to do, and I didn't know if there was going to be just things that happened, or because they arrived in a different place or or in a slightly different position, that could just change everything. And we saw a little bit of that, right? We saw with the Zoom situation, Zoom realized a little too late that wasn't the Barry Allen that he had just taken the speed from. There was another, the future version of Barry Allen, which probably would let him know that, hey, Barry actually got away from me somehow. But more importantly, he knows Nora exists now, which we all know Zoom's whole point was to get all the speedsters. He wanted to be the one and only, the fastest there was. Yes, it looked like the Time Wraith got him in the Speed Force, which is what happened in season 2 as well. That Time Wraith was actually after Nora, most likely Nora more than Barry, because now we know that Nora's been traveling back and forth like a fiend for how long, but I'll come back to that. But yeah, we don't know for certain that Zoom didn't get away. I mean, Barry's escaped Time Wraiths before, so maybe Zoom did. And now that Zoom has this new information, which he did not have because it didn't exist, obviously, in season 2, you see my point. This could definitely come back to bite Barry in the butt later. We also had the interaction with the Harry from Earth 2. Thankfully, I feel like that one's probably going to be fairly innocuous, just because it was such a brief interaction. It was so short. He didn't have a chance to really chat with Barry or spend too much time with him. But again, that's something that didn't happen in the first time around. And like I said, all it takes is one little thing, and Harry was very smart. So who knows if in his timeline now he's going to figure out that there were two Barrys, and maybe he's going to be investigating why Barry would have come back in time. But again, that's just, I feel like, another loose end. I feel like the writers did a really good job of leaving little breadcrumbs for the show to potentially pick up with and use in future seasons to cause more issues. Because I just can't feel like we go through all of that. If they really wanted it to be a thing where Barry really didn't do anything to disturb anything anywhere, they could have just skipped those interactions, right? It was very easy to just have Barry and Nora be able to get in and out without being seen. The interaction with Thawne, we finally understand, because I think all of us were like, but how is Thawne back? And I know that there is the speculation that because he went back and did Flash Time, that maybe that brought Thawne back from season 1, but I'm thinking that this is what makes Thawne, this is really what brought Thawne back. As you saw in that moment, I love the fact that Thawne sat there and he was like, wait, he's like, if you're here, pointing to, like, Barry from today, points at the other Barry from season, what was that, 3? He's like, points to that Barry, and he's like, and he's back. That means, and then, Barry's like, yeah, you don't go home. Like, you get screwed. So Thawne had that golden piece of information he never would have had otherwise. Plus the fact that he knows the timeline has changed from his timeline, because he called her Dawn, which is the name she was supposed to have, which tells me that there were twins. Not real confirmation, but that's what I want to believe. So in his timeline, I do think, though, in his timeline, since her name was Dawn in his timeline, that Dawn and Dawn were there, that the Tornado Twins were a real thing, and Nora The fact that she exists means that the timeline is broken. Eobard got all that information from that little interaction with the two of them, and that's what made him do something. Because you know Eobard was always thinking 10 steps ahead, so he must have done something in at least before. It's so hard to describe this when it comes to time travel, but whatever that time he was in there, he must have done something at that point to create some sort of failsafe. But since he's now in Nora's timeline, 2049, which sounds like it should be closer to what his timeline was in season 1, he must have done something to ensure that he and Nora would meet up in the future. I said it, I think I said it, I can't remember, maybe episode 2, when Sherlock brought out that whole thing about who sent you, like who told you to come back at this exact time, like who, like this seems like it wasn't your idea. That's when all those things started turning in my head, that I'm like, what if it was Thawne? What if Thawne sent her back? Because who else would be a speedster in the future who would be able to tell her about like how to teach her to do, and of course we've seen it throughout the season, right? The hand through the chest move, the fight that they had in the arena when the meta phone was telling Nora to kill her father. We saw a lot of Eobard Thawne moves being used there. Where did she learn those if she only knew she was a speedster for 6 months? Right? Somebody has been teaching her. So it all kind of seems like, to me, it feels like it all came full circle in this episode. That interaction between Nora and Barry and Eobard is what helped him figure out to plant a seed somehow so that him and Nora would have to interface in the future. And then when that happened, that's when he started everything, this big plan. And I thought from the beginning, maybe Nora is Eobard's plan of getting back at Barry once and for all. Using his daughter. What a better way to get to the Flash. Like, he already killed his mother, but remember, oh my God, and that line, sorry, coming back to that line he said to Barry, when she said her name was Nora, and he was like, oh, well, at least you have one.
Bruh.
Wow. I mean, kudos to Barry. I would have knocked his head clean around for saying that, but he was probably expecting it. But wow, that was very interesting to see. And like I said, I feel like that's where everything started for this whole thing that's come about. And now, of course, Nora coming back on this little trip with her dad, which is something that Eobard probably could not have anticipated that they were going to do. Although it was his idea to come up with the weapon. Why would he have come up? Do you think he would have predicted what happened with Cicada? He did say the one that got away, so maybe he did. And it's true, Sherlock said that in every iteration of different worlds, Cicada almost always escaped justice unless he stepped in. So I guess even in, yeah, I guess even in that future, that's right, because Nora said that in their future, Cicada never got caught by the Flash. So, okay, so maybe that doesn't. Oh no, but I guess if he knew that in the future, then he knew that Barry would, but he wouldn't have known it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm talking in circles here because my brain is trying to figure this. This is when time travel is so hard. So what I don't know is every Cicada and every timeline have the exact same powers as Orson? Because Orson's powers was a result of the dark matter satellite, which I don't think happens on every Earth. So it seems to me like this Cicada should have been different. But I guess in a way it was, because the other cicadas were actual metas, right? Where, I mean, this cicada is, but not because he was born one. I don't know. I'm probably going way too deep. I guess I'm just trying to figure out, since Nora got the idea from her book to go and create this magnet to beat Cicada, but the book is not her work, it's clearly Eobard's, then Eobard must have known. I guess maybe, could he have planned it for him to meet her? Oh God, I'm accepting myself, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna stop. But anyways, I feel like there is some orchestration in that meeting that we saw in this episode is the foundation of what became whatever this twisted relationship is between Nora and Eobard in the future. And as soon as I saw the way she looked at Eobard, the way she looked at that suit, I knew right off the bat. When they looked at him, her face, she looked scared, but not scared as in a, oh no, he might hurt me sort of way, but in a, oh God, I hope he doesn't recognize me sort of way. Yeah, on to you, Nora. Yeah, you knew. And that's when I knew right then in the episode, I'm like, yep, I was right. It was him who sent her. And obviously, he didn't tell her little details like, oh, by the way, I killed your grandma. You know, I'm a psychotic person who hates your father. So it really it brings a lot of questions to me about what the story is that Eobard's been telling her all this time. What has he been telling Nora to have her trust him to the point to take his advice about going back to the past to be sending log entries to him in the future. That's probably how he's known how to do all this, because if she's been sending stuff since every week and potentially even running back every week, he's finding out what's happening in their timeline so he can adjust. I mean, I'm really happy about it because Eobard Thawne is like the mother of all villains, but damn. Damn, Barry, you are getting played on a level you didn't even know was possible. Wow. And I thought the Thinker was bad. Whew. Listen, I will say this. A lot of people have had their issues with these writers. I personally have loved the new writers. One of the things that they have done impeccably well in season 4 and now in this season is with their grandiose villains. Like, they have taken the deeper villains, like people like Eobard Thawne and the Thinker last season, and really layered them and made them super smart villains, which is what I expect. Cicada is nothing now. He's riffraff at this point. I'm really worried about Thawne. I'm really worried about him. But obviously, knowing Thawne, he's not going to want, it will not be satisfying for him for Barry to die at the hands of anyone but him. So, or maybe Nora by some twisted poetic justice. So I think there is going to be a way to defeat Cicada, but now that's like such a minor point. Interesting. Oh, that brings me to the moment with Cicada as well. How badass. I'm sorry. I don't really like Cicada overall just because, I mean, bless Chris Klein for trying, but I just feel like he's overacting this villain thing a little too much. Like, I just find it so cheesy the way he's doing it. But that aside, the way he used all holy power and pulled his dagger from space, I wasn't ready. I was not ready. That was cool. That was super cool. I'm feeling like what Cisco should have done, however, is breached his dagger into another dimension, because I don't think that Cicada would be able to pull the dagger from another dimension. But I don't think they also thought that he had the power to pull it from space, because that's some range, y'all. That's some intense, like, that's Wi-Fi to the extreme. Holy crap. He's got all the bars. He now knows that it's possible for his dagger to be negated, so I think that's going to change things a bit, because Orson, I think we've seen, he's not really a genius. He's not the smartest tool in the shed, really. He's just angry and determined, which are very, very powerful tools. But I think now that he knows that this team is a little brighter than he is, and more importantly, that he can't take out Killer Frost with his dagger, that's going to definitely change things a bit for him. So we'll see. Like I said, I don't think it's a major point at this point, because like I said, I really don't care about Cicada anymore. I didn't really in the beginning, to be honest. But now that I know that Eobard's orchestrating all this stuff, I just want to know how that's all going to go. So I'm sure the team will figure it out sometime in the new year, because the crossover event is, I don't think we're going to see anything or hear anything about Cicada during that time. But they've laid the groundwork for where we're going to be, I think, in the second half of the season, figuring this all out, figuring out, I mean, really it's going to come down to Nora. Is she going to be honest? Is she going to tell her dad that she knows Eobard Thawne and that he sent her there? How much trust has he built in Nora? What has he been telling her to have her convinced to trust him? And now that she knows this information, but the fact is she still sent an entry to him. So clearly she's not that bothered by the fact that he murdered her grandmother. And the fact that she went to go see him again says to me that she's willing to let him explain why he would do that. So yeah, their relationship is of deep interest to me. I really want to know how this guy has manipulated her so well. But I guess, in fairness, in season 1, he did the same thing to Barry. He had Barry thinking that he was his closest ally until it was too late. And I guess that good-natured gullibleness is hereditary, because Nora's fallen for it yet again. We'll see. I am very interested to see how that has all come across. And again, it's going to come down to Nora choosing a side. Is she going to stick with what Eobard's saying, or is she just going to, you know, go with her gut now that she's spent time with her family and seen what they're like? Maybe there's some discrepancies in what Eobard's been telling her to the point where she will come clean. But again, who knows? I mean, Eobard's got to have thought of a backup plan of that happening. I like the tie-ins that we saw as well with the new the new flashback of the Night of the Accelerator is, I really like how they keep going back to it. They went back to it several times in season 4. We saw it again, and you know, we saw, of course, the announcement. We see young Barry and Iris standing in the crowd all excited, and now we see the DeVoes standing there, and now we see, like, you know, Caitlin in the side and some random dude, and then we have conversations. We saw that clip from Ronnie walking around in the lab, but importantly, that little, not importantly, but one of the Easter eggs there was again, seeing this conversation between Cisco and Wells, and then that handshake, which just made all of us in the fandom go, oh my god, no, it's still too soon. 5 years later, it's still too soon. Damn you, show, for doing that. Damn you for playing with our emotions and reminding us of that traumatic moment. But interesting that he, of course, dropped Vibe's name as well. So we saw the doctor who influenced Orlin about the metas, and we see that her hatred, I guess, of metas potentially started the night of the particle accelerator. And, you know, of course, the ripple effects that came from that. So, I mean, it's still not right, but you can at least understand a bit more of where she was coming from with all of this. And it was interesting to just kind of loop that all back into today's story. So I think, like I said, overall, this episode was done really, really well. And it definitely focused more on Barry and Nora and going through these travels and revisiting a lot of the things that Barry's gone through, and of course Nora getting pieces that have been left out of her future, pieces about her dad, pieces about his past, things that obviously both Eobard and the Flash Museum would have kept quiet. And I'm wondering if the curator at the Flash Museum might actually be Eobard Thawne. It was good. I really enjoyed this episode. I think that, like I said, a great job for the 100th. I think it definitely commemorated what they've done so far and laid, like I said, really good groundwork for what we can expect for the second half of the season. So what did you guys think of this episode? How do you feel about the reveal that Eobard Thawne is the one who's controlling Nora? And do you think she's going to break away? Do you think she's going to be able to see the deception that's been used to manipulate her? Or do you feel like she's actually going to end up playing as a pawn right until the end? And also, what do you think it means that she is a different daughter than the original Eobard Thawne's timeline, where there was a Dawn Allen instead, West Allen, pardon me? Please leave your comments below. You know I love reading them and getting involved in that conversation with you guys. And if you like this video, please click like, and if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time,